Every team, every topic, everywhere. This is Believe.
Last year,
It's happened!
they went and took it.
He struck him out looking!
This year,
The Texas Rangers win the World Series!
they're here to run it back.
It's over!
This is Believe in Texas Rangers, hosted by Mitch Ferreldis.
On the road again, although I'm not sure they can't wait to get back on the road again. Welcome into the latest edition of Believe in Texas Rangers. Make sure that if you like what you're listening to, you rate 5 stars, you download, you subscribe, you tell your friends, and you can always watch every episode as well on Believe in Texas Rangers on YouTube. Just search for Believe in Texas Rangers or my name, Mitch Ferreldis. I'm sure one of those is going to be easier for you to spell than the other. But we're going to start by recapping what just happened, which was the 3 games against the Washington Nationals. We're going to start with Thursday, and we could take this one of 2 ways. We could take this the positive route, which is what I'm going to do, or we could take this the negative route, which was a major storyline about halfway through the Thursday game of this series, but it's probably a little less significant now. I'm not trying to jump the gun on what happened with Nate Eovaldi yesterday, but we got to start with the positive. And if we're encapsulating the entire 3-game series, really just his entire season as a whole, today's episode is about Josh Smith. Josh H. Smith. The H stands for him, I believe, because he is him. Josh Smith continues to be one of the brightest spots in this Rangers lineup, on this Rangers team. And he's proving it every single day that he's needed to fill in for Josh Young, since Josh Young got hurt and had to be placed on the injured list. If I could just indulge you for a minute in fantastic Josh Smith statistics, right? That's what everybody comes here for, is the Josh Smith statistics. So back on the 30th of April, which was at the beginning of May, Alex Plink, who does a great job covering the Rangers for Dallas Fanatic. I've gotten a chance to talk with him in the past because he's a good buddy of one of my colleagues who works for the Diamondbacks. Josh, this was on April 30th, remind you. Josh Smith is 11 hits away from matching last season's total in-base hits. He had 115 fewer at-bats this season than he did last season. And if we're going to tabulate how much he's gotten as far as hits are concerned, a nice little encapsulation just of how well Josh H. Smith has done this year from Jared Sandler, who works for the broadcast team. Josh is currently on a career-high 19-game on-base streak, which is the second longest active streak in the majors. He's reached in 25 consecutive starts, which is tied for the longest in the majors this year. He's got the tied for 4th most doubles in Major League Baseball with 10, and he's 5th in Major League Baseball in getting on base with a .423 on-base percentage, which means he's getting on base about 42% of his at-bats. If I'd have told you at the beginning of the year, and I'm just going to call it now, because no, none of you would have believed me if I told you this. If I told you at the beginning of the year that Josh H. Smith was one of the top 3 players on the Rangers to start the year, would you have believed me? I wouldn't have even believed myself. And it's funny because what is the whole expression of next man up? When somebody goes down, next man up. That's the way it is. Josh has been a part of this Rangers roster for a few years now. He's been very much in a platoon spot / first man off the bench kind of a role. Now he's kind of carved out a permanent role the way that he's playing. And it's not just offensively either. It's the way that he's able to manage himself very, very well at the hot corner defensively. It's not like Josh Smith is booting everything that's being hit his way. And that, if anything else, makes it more secure, his spot in this everyday lineup, especially given the fact that Josh Young is probably not going to be back for another month and a half at the minimum. This is as best a case of scenario for the Rangers as you could have ever predicted at the start of the year. especially given that they're only a few games above 500 right now, which is okay. It's very early in the season. 17-15 heading into this weekend against Kansas City. There's been nights in and nights out where the offense has just been not there whatsoever. And there's other nights where the offense has very much been there. Yesterday against the Nationals in a 6-0 win, Josh Smith was a big part of why the offense was successful yesterday. He finished the game 1 for 3, but he scored twice because he walked once. He was able to get on base. He's doing things at his point in the lineup that allows the offense to keep churning and keep going, setting up for guys like Wyatt Langford, Ezekiel Duran, and Evan Carter was hitting 9th in the order yesterday. He's doing all of the things that you would want from a hitter who's hitting lower in the order, which is to keep the line moving. But he's producing at the level of somebody who's hitting at the top of the order. Got to keep the good times rolling, and you got to just embrace what is happening. We love it. Interesting topic that was brought up by Bryce Paterick, who's with Locked On Rangers. And I was listening to a little bit of his podcast the other day. Josh H. Smith might be in the running for an all-star bid at this rate. That's something that Bryce is wondering. Like, is Josh playing at a level that he should be getting all-star consideration? Would you say that 1 full month is a good gauge in terms of determining who's worthy to be an all-star and who's not worthy to be an all-star? I would say yes, based on the fact that there's only 2 more months to accrue statistics to be able to be eligible for the all-star team. And we know that Josh Young is not going to crack the all-star team. And when you think about third baseman in the American League, I know Jordan Westberg, I believe it is, had a really good first month of April. He's with the Baltimore Orioles. But beyond that, nobody immediately jumps at you as far as, yeah, he really stands out as a third baseman candidate for the American League All-Star team. Like, do you think about the Yankees? No. Oswaldo Cabrera, I guess. He had a good couple of weeks to start the year, but he's kind of petered out a little bit. Red Sox, Rafael Devers, he's the big namesake, but he's not had the greatest and most amazing start to the season. Like, Josh H. Smith feels like the easy candidate to get this spot. Whether it's starter or reserve, it doesn't matter that much to me. But if he gets starter, that speaks a lot to how the fan base feels, or how average baseball fans feel about how well Josh H. Smith has done to start the year. So it's only fair that we gave him his flowers to start this one, because he's been excellent for this team. And you have to imagine that he's going to continue rolling into this month of May based on how well he played in the month of April. All right, we have to touch on the bad of yesterday's 6-0 win. I want to emphasize that. I'm talking about a bad in yesterday's 6-0 win. But into the 6th inning, and after allowing a walk and then 1 pitch into the next batter, Nathan Eovaldi has to get pulled from the game in what was later determined to be a groin tightness, if I'm not mistaken. Not great, but the plus side of this is that he's expected to get an MRI tomorrow. He's planning to follow the team to Kansas City. They're playing it safe right now, and that's completely justifiable because, again, we're barely into the month of May, right? Like, there's no reason to rush any of this. There's no reason for us to believe that Nathan Eovaldi is going to miss more time based on the way that he reacted. Like, in real time, you're thinking, oh, great. He completely back to Jonah Heim after he throws the pitch. Like, it's the last thing he wants to think about is getting another pitch and having to throw it in. It was good to hear Nate after the game downplay it and make it sound like it wasn't a big deal. But this happens a lot in baseball. Players like to downplay their injuries so as they're probably not doing it for the fans. They're probably more so doing it for themselves. So as not to a rise of panic. They don't want anybody thinking that everything is worse off than it actually is. They want everybody to think that it's fine. They're Lieutenant Frank Drebin from Naked Gun. It's all right. Nothing to see here. Please disperse. Meanwhile, there's fireworks exploding right behind him. I'm not saying it's this level of concern. What I will say is the way that the Rangers have handled injuries to start the year leads me to believe, and I could be very wrong. I mean, you could be listening to this right now, and we know the results of Eovaldi's MRI. That is a realistic possibility. I'm just saying that I would not be surprised if this results in a either brief IL stint or just a day-to-day designation tag. It's not like he has to pitch tomorrow or today even. He won't have to pitch again until the Oakland series, but in that Oakland series is a traditional doubleheader, and there's a likelihood they're going to want an extra pitcher anyway for said traditional doubleheader. It's just tough because all we can do right now is assume that Nathan's going to be fine, and I'm trying to see if we have any updates on it right now, and we currently don't. So should an update drop by the time I'm near the end of recording this, we'll get it to you. But as it stands right now, you assume that he's not going to be available for his next start based off this one little instance. Maybe we're lucky. Maybe Nate Eovaldi's right, and there really is nothing to worry about as far as his injury is concerned. But for right now, all we can assume is that he exited a game early. Granted, he was approaching the 100 pitch mark, so I'm sure he would have been taken out soon enough, maybe after that complete sixth inning. But it's an early exit nonetheless, and something that is the last thing that this Rangers rotation needs, given that Max Scherzer had to have his rehab start delayed. We'll get to more of that in a second. Cody Bradford is going to be out for longer than anticipated because of his fractured rib. Jack Leiter, who was called upon for a spot start in Detroit, it didn't go all that great, but they're going to need the help they can get. They have Johnny Cueto signed to a minor league deal. He's probably not ready to go if they were to call upon him next week. I couldn't imagine. He probably needs like another couple of outings in the minors to get ready. The rotation is very strapped right now. So the last thing you need is another key guy going down. But in the meantime, we got great outings from the other two members of the starting pitching staff against the Nationals this weekend. One of them got tagged with a loss, unfortunately. And that was Andrew Heaney in the 1-0 loss to the Nationals on Wednesday. Andrew Heaney, through 7 innings, allowed just 4 hits, the 1 earned run, struck out 4, and this is most important to me. He walked none. 0 walks for Heaney. Even if you want to compound how great of an outing it was for Heaney, he threw just 74 pitches in the 7 innings. At the rate he was pitching, he could have easily gone 2 more innings and thrown anywhere close to a Maddox, except for the fact that he was on the losing end of the ledger at that point. He was able to get 6 swings and misses. So normally very good with that swing and miss combo of his curveball and his fastball. He didn't have it on Wednesday, but that's okay because he pitched exceedingly well. And he got 0 help from his offense. And the offense had several opportunities too. 11 men left on base, 1 for 9 with runners in scoring position. Yeah, they were 1 for 9, but no runners came in to score with runners in scoring position. There's a stat that I saw courtesy of OptaStats because the opposing pitcher in that game was Trevor Williams. And I'm going to read this slow because it took me a minute to comprehend what just happened. But over the last 50 seasons, per OptaStats, since 1975, there have been 21,395 scoreless outings by MLB starters in the regular season and postseason, including on that Wednesday. Only one of those 21,000 plus did so while facing a bases-loaded no-out jam in not 1, but 2 separate innings. That was what Trevor Williams overcame the other day. He was the one pitcher out of 21,000 plus that threw a scoreless outing, faced a bases-loaded no-out jam twice, and still ended the day allowing no runs. If you needed further evidence that the Rangers had every opportunity to make the most of a really good Andrew Heaney start, there you go. Bases loaded, no outs twice, and the game ended with 0 runs scored. And I'm gonna group in Andrew Heaney's outing with how John Gray did to start on Tuesday, which the two were basically one-upping each other or trying to one-up each other. John Gray threw 8 innings, a 3-hit ball, allowed just 1 run in a 7-1 win, and struck out 3. 98 pitches through those 8 innings as well. What can we take away from these 2 outings? The easy answer is thank goodness, because silly old Mitch here was wondering if Andrew Heaney and John Gray were going to be the first casualties when this rotation finally starts to get healthy. Silly old Mitch here was wondering if John Gray should be relegated to the bullpen, but not as a demotion, but rather as an improvement for the bullpen. Well, John just threw 8 innings without any issue. Should I damper this take because it was how well he pitched? Should I damper how I feel about this because he pitched against the Nationals, who, respectfully so, are 15-16 on the year? They came in at 14-14. They were a 500 team coming into this series, and they leave with 1 win, but they only scored 2 runs. So I think the easy answer is let's not discount any of these outings just because of who they played. Let's look at it as, thank goodness both John Gray and Andrew Heaney turned the outings that they did, and it's a real bummer that only one of them resulted in a win. There was a great stat that I bookmarked from Kennedy Landry, who said that on Andrew Heaney's Wednesday outing, he joined John Gray, ironic, twice, John Gray has done this, as the only Texas pitchers in the last 2 seasons to suffer a loss in a 7+ inning outing, allowing 1 or 0 runs. That's tough. That's really, really tough. To pitch as well as you did, especially given the circumstances of how Andrew Heaney's season has gone, and to be tagged with a loss is just rough. Because he's now 0-4 on the year, and I know we don't look at wins and losses the same in today's Major League Baseball, but it's still kind of a blemish on the record, literally, so to speak. One that I would like to see slightly improve for the most part, because losses are losses, and this is just one of those losses that it looks different if you look at it one way versus the other way. Starting pitching was great. We've talked about enough. But how about the bullpen this weekend? Or even just in the last 10 games. So over the course of the homestand, +1. A .57 ERA, a 143 batting average against, a 366 OPS allowed, and a 9.5 K per 9. This bullpen, this pitching staff as a whole is excellent right now. And they're getting it from places that you wouldn't have expected. Cole Winn still has a 0 ERA to start the year. Jose Leclerc has really started to calm down since his early season blow-up in the role as closer. Jacob Latz pitched in 2 of the games this weekend. He's been excellent after his 1 blow-up outing. David Robertson, we can't say enough about the free agent signing that Chris Young made with David Robertson. Kirby Yates as well. Kirby didn't pitch in 1 of the games this series because he didn't need to. But, man, this bullpen has been electric really all season long. The major blowups have only been from a couple of parties. But the bullpen right now is really rocking and rolling to the point that you wonder if the offense is going to be able to continue to support the way that the pitching staff is going. Because when you have outings like you did on Wednesday, the offense gets shown a really bright light. And I know Corey Seager's really struggling to start the year, but they're still giving him the regular at-bats. Wyatt Langford, who we'll touch on more in just a second, has been not so great. And you just hope that the offense can find some consistency. Because as we mentioned, Josh H. Smith has been a real bright spot. Adolis Garcia continues to be Adolis Garcia. Nathaniel Lowe has essentially reached base in every game that he's played since returning from the injured list. There's guys in this lineup that have brought consistency to it. And there's star power in this lineup that you would expect sooner or later they're going to perform at the level that you expect them to. All right, I teased it, so let's get into it now.
Wyatt Watch.
It's not going great. It's not going great. And I'm debating whether or not to drop my super duper hot take, the one that's going to get me railed if I say it, but I brought it up on Twitter, so I might as well bring it up now. But first, the games against the Nationals. So a reminder, he gets his first home run, the inside the park home run against the Reds. And then in 3 games against the Nationals, he went 1 for 12. Punctuated by a 3 strikeout performance yesterday. 5 total strikeouts over the weekend. 0 walks. And the batting average is really starting to go down. Currently, his batting average is .230. He's got an on-base percentage of .302 and a slugging percentage of .301. He obviously didn't collect any RBIs over the weekend, didn't steal any bases. He's getting a lot of at-bats, which it's starting to even out the numbers that we're seeing, right? In his last 7, he's 3 for 25. His last 15, he's 10 for 53. And in his last month of games, 26 for 113, which is essentially his season stats. Just grill me if you want what I'm about to say. Did they jump the gun on Langford? I'm really only posing it as a question. I'm not posing it as they need to do something about it. But I'm really just wondering if the Rangers organization jumped the gun on Wyatt Langford. I mean, let's be real. This isn't an uncommon occurrence, right? We've seen in history players who get signed before they play any Major League Baseball. Corbin Carroll, he played a few Major League games, the year before he got his big contract extension. But I'm thinking more like Jonathan Singleton with the Astros. That didn't work out too well. Scott Kingery with the Phillies. That didn't work out too well. And I know Wyatt Langford hasn't been signed to a contract extension by any means, and there's probably not one coming for a while. But I'm starting to wonder if this is a case scenario for maybe a little more time in AAA to get things right. Or, as I play devil's advocate here, does he need to stay with the big league roster? Because it's the only way that he's going to get better is by continuing to see Major League pitching. And I know, we've griped about it a lot. The pitches that have been called against Langford. Yes, that is still very much a factor. But at the same time, the patience is starting to wear out a little bit at the plate. That pitch that he reached for the other day, maybe that was cause and effect of getting a called strike 3 low in that spot, just barely off the plate. And so he's thinking, well, if this ump is going to call it now, I might as well swing at it because he's going to call it a strike anyway. I don't think anything drastic needs to happen right now. I want to be very clear about that. But sooner or later, there's going to be a hitter that is returning from the injured list. There are guys on the current roster that are performing very, very well and well enough to keep their spot. And there are candidates that are really struggling and making you start to wonder who's going to help the big league club right now. And is Wyatt Langford going to help the big league club right now? I still think he can. But the statistics are not helping his case right now. All right, let's get into an injury update. Max Scherzer, he was supposed to have a rehab start on Tuesday with Corpus Christi. That got pushed back due to a thumb injury, I believe it was. And it sounds like he's going to be traveling with the team to Kansas City. So he's not going to be pitching at all this week. Yes, this is from Jeff Wilson, who does Rangers Today coverage. Max Scherzer said his thumb forearm thing is improving. Jeff's words, not mine. He played catch today, However, he will not make a rehab start this weekend. He's going with the Rangers to Kansas City and could pitch in the minors next week. So that's a bummer that the injury delayed what could have been a quick return before this doubleheader in Oakland. And now he's going to be likely rehab starting during the week that they're in Oakland before they come home again. Can we freak out about it? No, I don't think there's really anything to freak out about. It's just, we just need to be patient, I guess. But things are going to compound if the injury news and the MRI results are worse than we imagined when it comes to Nate Eovaldi. But that's the latest on Scherzer. Sounds like he's going to get some rehab action next week. Jack Leiter, that name's getting thrown around again because everybody is speculating, and I don't mean everybody is in like fans. I mean everybody is in Evan Grant, who's with Dallas Morning News, Jamie Newberg, who's covered Dallas sports for a long time. They're all speculating if Jack Leiter is going to get the call up for the for the split doubleheader when they're in Oakland, which I believe is on the the Tuesday or the Wednesday. Sorry, got dates all over the place. So Jack pitched against Albuquerque on May 2nd, which was yesterday. 5 innings, 3 hits allowed, 2 runs allowed. Both of the runs came on home runs. Yikes. 2 walks and 4 strikeouts, which wasn't the best follow-up start compared to his outing against Sugar Land, where he had a quality start with 8 Ks. But he's still pitching better. He still seems to be finding his form again. The home run factor when it comes to Pacific Coast League, for those not aware, the Pacific Coast League is like pitching in the tallest mountain place. The ball just flies. There's literally no air holding back these baseballs, right? It's you wish you could be pitching in a humidor in the Pacific Coast League. The ball just flies, given the locations they play in. But keep an eye on that, because given that he pitched yesterday, which was on the same day that Eovaldi pitched, funny enough, there's a chance that Leiter lines up perfectly to be called up and make his next start against Oakland when they're in Oakland Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. All right, one last thing I wanted to touch on before we close. An apology to anybody in the DFW who is an Xfinity or a Comcast subscriber. In case you were unaware, well, you're probably aware now because this was from a few days ago. Bally Sports went dark on Comcast a couple of days ago. The statement from Diamond Sports, which is the parent company for Bally's, quote, "It's disappointing that Comcast rejected a proposal extension that would have kept our channels on the air, and that Comcast indicated that it intends to pull the signals, preventing fans from watching their favorite local teams. Comcast has refused to engage in substantive discussions, despite Diamond offering terms similar to those reached with much larger distributors of ours. We are a fans first company," and etc. I could bore you to death. My one and only take on this is that a bankrupt company is trying to convince you that they're in the right. Living in Arizona, as I do, Bally Sports used to be the parent company for the Diamondbacks broadcast distribution. And then towards the last 2 months of the season, Diamondbacks dropped Bally and switched to MLB.com production. That's what the Padres are doing right now. That's what the Rockies are doing right now. All of these Bally Sports teams guarantee it on the verge of either being produced by MLB or being produced by a local provider. And what do I mean by a local provider? I mean like your over-the-air cable TV channel, like your local CBS team or your local Fox team. I guarantee that that's the route that this is going to go based on how things have developed. And again, apologies to Xfinity/Comcast subscribers. My family, they live in Denver. They haven't been able to watch a Nuggets or an Avalanche game for years. Contract disputes and television, one of my least favorite things in sports. One of my least favorite things. So I do really feel for all of these people that just lost their ability to watch the Rangers day in and day out. And that, I believe, also includes the Dallas Stars. Hopefully they advance past the Vegas Golden Knights. I know that includes the Mavericks. Hopefully they advance past the Clippers. Look, there's a lot that is being lost as a result of everything going on in sports media. Bally Sports being bankrupt doesn't help anybody. So I would hope that all these teams can find a suitable home for their coverage. I know Bally's is going to maintain coverage of the Rangers throughout the season, we assume. The Diamondbacks change should happen mid-season. The Padres change should happen mid-season. Who knows what can happen? But I'm very curious to see how things develop because I've lived through it, and it's not pretty. It's not pretty. But that's going to do it for this edition of Believe in Texas Rangers. You got Kansas City Royals and the Rangers starting a 3-game set today, or 4-game set, today in Kansas City. And then after that, it'll be the Oakland A's. So we will recap after the Royals series is done. So until next time, Believe in Texas Rangers.